So finally, we're going back to going over some of the newer premiums War Thunder has released and seeing if they're worth picking up or not. Today we'll be looking at the Leopard 2A4M, which is a Leopard 2 from Canada in the German tech tree, as a rank 7 premium at a battle rating of 11.3. The first thing to note is top tier is really a mess right now, and I don't think it will change anytime soon. You have issues with BR compression, people one def leaving, and the meta right now just being Leopard. So if you have Italy, Sweden, and Germany all on the same team, most likely that team is going to win. Just saying. Like, it's pretty much just, at this point, crazy to have like an 86% win rate in the Leopard 2A4M. So let's get on to the Leopard 2A4M. The best way to describe the vehicle is it's an upgraded Leopard 2A4, which was designed to fight RPGs and pretty much infantry in Afghanistan. The thing is, that really doesn't apply to War Thunder, so it really just gets extra weight for not really much benefit, since people aren't really shooting HDFS at you at the higher tiers of War Thunder, especially since rank 8 now is completely stocked with APFSDS. So, in my opinion, the best thing to do whenever you get your Leopard 2A4M, if you do want to buy it, is you take off slat armor, and then also you take off the mine protection, because both of those armor protections make the mobility of the tank slower, which means you get a big decrease into actual maneuverability, which is a huge thing with Leopards. They're very mobile, and if you start to decrease them, especially with armor that doesn't matter, it is going to be a bad day for them. So now let's talk about the actual armor of the Leopard 2A4M. For top tier, it's not much. Pretty much every round after DM33 on a 105 can pin the lower plate and also the upper plate of the hull. You do not get the extra armor like the STRV 1-2 or the Leopard 2A7, even though it kind of looks like you do. So you do want to hide this hull pretty much anytime that you're able to engage enemies, because it is just easily able to be pinned. It's pretty much the typical weak spot whenever it comes to Leopard 2s, except for on the opposite of tier Leopards within the game. Next is the turret. Overall, it's okay, but it's still bad, and the reason why it's bad is because of the breach. It's huge compared to all of the other Leopard 2A5s, 2A6s, 2A7s, for example. So if you're on a hill peeking, just remember you have the breach and a turret ring that is pretty much similar in size to the Challenger 2s. And if you ever played the Challenger 2s, it's Breach Thunder. And the same thing happens with this Leopard 2A4M because of how just large the breach is on the Leopard 2A4s. Overall, for the armor of this tank, you really want to treat this tank as you can't take a shot. I wouldn't ever recommend relying on this tank's armor to take anything, especially when you're into an up tier of like 11.7, where you will see mighty big rounds that can just completely destroy you whenever it comes to your tank. The only thing that will actually bounce anything is the turret cheeks, and even then I wouldn't really risk it, because people might accidentally hit your breach and then just go directly through it. The only time the armor kind of does a little bit something for you is like a 10-3 down tier, but even then stuff is shooting at you with like M774, so it's still going to be able to pin you, especially in like your lower plate and also the upper plate. But if you're able to get hold down in a position, you can do relatively well. But yeah, top tier rounds like M829A1, they will just pin you. It's not really going to be a good day in the Leopard 2A4M once you get to an up tier. So just take the tank as your light tank. You do not want to get shot, and you just want to use your mobility to get into good positions. That is the best way to play the Leopard 2A4M. Now on to the gun of the Leopard 2A4M. The gun is the exact same that you'll find on the Leopard 2A4 at 10.3, but on the 2A4M, you get access to the M33 and also a KEW round. This is the same round as on M1A1 AIM and also the M60 AMBT. Now overall, the KEW round, which I prefer to call it the KEC round for some reason, the APFSDS is okay. Personally for me though, it feels like a round I get more assists from, and this is completely just me of how I feel about this round. I would use another round if there was something available, but even though I still think the post pin of the round is pretty poor, 600mm are like almost 600mm of pin at 11.3 is still really nice. For the amount of rounds to take, this one is actually a huge win for Leopard, and I really hate it because this is the one thing I just hate with Leopard. To completely remove the front ammo rack, which is one of the hugest weak spots if you actually bring ammo into, you can only bring 16 rounds. And 16 rounds to me, at least in a top tier game, to impact like a full game. So like let's just say that you spawn in and you survive the whole entire game with like 10 to 15 kills, let's just say. You have 16 rounds. That will run out very quickly whenever it comes to that. And personally for me, for all of my tanks, I like to run a minimum of 20 rounds. But here's my compromise for it. Whenever I'm on a larger to medium sized map, I like to run 20 APFSDS and 2 HDFS rounds. Now the big point of this is that you do not want to show your hull until later into the game, because you will have ammo in the front hull. But it gives you the opportunity to actually use some of those rounds. It gets replenished, and then that ammo rack should be gone. Now on smaller maps, I would recommend just running 16 APFSDS rounds, and since the maps are smaller, you should be able to get to a capture point and get some ammo back if you need to do that before the game ends. The larger maps though, you might not get that opportunity. You might be on something like Red Desert and you'll be in the enemy spawn and you're just out of ammo. So I definitely recommend bringing enough to survive the whole game, because right now with Germany, they are just winning. They're pushing spawns. They're just completely dominating whenever it comes to top tier, and you want to be up there, especially with a premium, because your goal is to grind, and I would not want to go all the way back on like Red Desert to a capture point to just get ammo. So that's my recommendation. Smaller maps 16, larger maps 20, and then 2 heat FS rounds, just so if you have like an SPA or something, you can overpressure them with the heat FS. So here's the extras of the Leopard 2A4M. The thermals are really good. They're pretty much better than most of the Leopards in the tech tree, which is kind of funny. Way to win much. But the MG armament is pretty terrible. It's the Canadian version of the M240s, which is pretty bad unless you're having a helicopter fly right on top of you. It can't really track vehicles like a 50 cal. And what I mean by this is that whenever you're seeing vehicles, you can just shoot the track of an enemy tank and you can actually kill them with just 50 cals, and you can mobility and get around them and all that sort of stuff. So the pin on them is pretty bad. You're not going to be killing like IFEs or anything. The mobility of the Leopard 2A4M is pretty poor whenever you have the add-on armor and all that sort of stuff on it. So I would highly recommend just taking it off. Once you do take off the actual add-on armor of the Leopard 2A4M, you do get the mobility back for a Leopard 2A4. You will have a little bit more extra armor because you do have the armor within the like turret cheeks and as well as the hull, so it will be heavier, so you will feel a little bit different whenever it comes to that. And that's definitely one thing that I felt whenever I was playing this. I feel like I was heavier, and yeah, it is true. It is completely heavier than the regular Leopard 2A4. You also get a camo net on this vehicle. It's pretty nice. Like, I do really love that Gaijin actually adds stuff in unique to the premium, especially since you're paying for this sort of thing. It's pretty cool that they're actually introducing it to tech tree vehicles as well with the Vectra. But the camo netting, honestly, in my opinion, is a bad thing. And hear me out on this. The reason it's a bad thing is because there's a very key like features that you can pick out on tank and kind of determine what they are. So if you see this camo netting, or the enemy sees the camo netting, they're like, oh, it's the Leopard 2A4M. If you take your camo netting off, and especially if you have bushes, it sometimes will confuse the enemy of what kind of leopard you are, especially in like an up tier. They might be like, oh, it's a Leopard 2A7, because that's kind of what you look like, especially if you put bushes on the turret where they just can't see what the turret looks like. So in my opinion, the camo netting is nice. It is going to be good. It would be one of those cool things, like if you could actually turn it on and off during the game, because for example, if you're playing on like full to gap, the camo netting will pretty much just give away your position. But if you're playing on like Tunisia, where you're in a desert, it's going to be actually pretty good. Last thing to note before we get into the recommendation stage of this video is that this is a vehicle that's at 11.3. 11.3 Germany is pretty poor. You only have 2 vehicles that are currently going to be at 11.3, which is the Leopard 2A4M, which will be the premium that you have, and then also a very similar vehicle, which is the Leopard 2PL. So the actual lineup of 11.3 is pretty poor. You don't really have CAS whenever it comes to this lineup. And then also, you don't really have many support vehicles. Now, there is a caveat to this. You can very much take the 10-0s, the 10-3s, or the Germans within this lineup. So the regular Leopard 2A4, you can take the Puma, you can take the Tab 2C, you can take all these vehicles, and relatively speaking, they will do pretty well. It's not the biggest like Achilles heel in the world, but just realize that you are coming in with a lineup with only technically 2 vehicles. So not the best, but it is workable. So overall, would I recommend buying the Leopard 2A4M Premium for the German tech tree? I really hate to say this because it's going to be something that's very common within these videos I make on the premiums. And that's going to be that I don't recommend it right now, but I do recommend it on a sale, because I do completely understand that for $70 for a lot of people, that's insane. You can actually just go buy another AAA game for that, and then also $70 you can buy a ton of lower tier premiums. You can get your premium account for like even less than that if you're buying it on the sale. So it's a huge investment, especially if you want to get something like this. And if you already have the Leopard 2A4 with the Panzer Battalion one, I definitely would just say use that one as of now, because there's not really a reason to use the Leopard 2A4M as a grinding vehicle. But if you're looking for a vehicle to just grind the German tech tree, I mean, it's going to be a good one. But I don't think it's a great vehicle for especially being $70. If you want my opinion for it, this is what I would do if you're looking to get the vehicle. Wait for it to come on sale. Start to get the Leopard 2PL, especially get into a squadron and get the squadron RP for it. My squadron does have slots open at the end of each month whenever I do kick the inactive people. So you can try to get into that one. You'll always get your 20,000 score, because we do get rid of the people who just don't play the game anymore. So it's one of those things to do. So I would highly recommend doing that. Wait for a sale for this thing, and that's the best time to get the Leopard 2A4M. So what do you guys think of the Leopard 2A4M? I know some people wanted it within the British tech tree, and to be quite honest with you, it was always going go to Germany. Like, you could have hit that one from like a mile away. I'm not really sure why people were like, oh, this should go into the UK tech tree. Germany already had a Canadian Leopard. Okay, this is basically it. But yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we will see you guys in the next War Thunder video.